My name is John, I'm 28, I'm currently doing a PhD in the University of Canterbury with mechanical engineering. It's broadly an area of nanotechnology, focusing on nanomaterials in a process called electrospinning. Currently, electrospinning around the world is being used in the filtration industry because it's a nice, easy application for the style of material that's being produced. One of the things we dream that this fibre could be used for is to literally be able to take cloned cells from a burn victim, be able to mix it together with the fibres that we're spinning at the same time to be able to directly spray, effectively skin onto a burn victim. Probably at about the age of 12 is about when things really went wrong for me. I find that depression is something where it's almost like a Jekyll and Hyde situation, where you've got yourself normally and suddenly you switch into this person where all of the negative things just become blown up massively out of proportion and all the positive things are shrunk down to the point where you can't see them. You just think things are worse than they are. And it takes massive amounts of mental strength to be able to pull yourself back out of that. I was always looking at myself and questioning, like, why was I even here? What purpose did I serve? Why would I bother existing when I felt so awful? It's when it becomes every day of your life. It's when it becomes so that every morning when you wake up, you think, oh God, not another day. It's when at night you don't want to go to sleep because you know that at least with today, you've survived today and you're in charge of today enough. Whereas if you go to sleep, you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. And you're terrified because it's like, oh, then I have to face a whole new day with all new challenges. I became very, very, very isolated. I pretty much already given up on the idea that anybody was able to help me. And it took till I was about 20 before I was finally diagnosed with depression, and that was a revelation for me. Because up until then, I just assumed that there was something wrong with me and that I was an inferior human being. And then finally being told that actually this is an illness, this isn't just something that you're doing, it's not your fault. It was like freeing. For a couple of years before I was diagnosed, people were sort of like, we think you may be suffering from some form of depression. You should probably go see somebody about it. And I was like, no, it's not me. I'm fine. It sort of hit like a critical point where I was like, well, even though I don't think that this is going to help, I'm just going to go and try. I think it was a fear that it would turn out to be worse than it actually was. If somebody was to actually analyze it and look at it, it would turn out that I was actually fantastically broken and there was no way I was ever going to be able to maintain a normal life. And at least when I didn't know, there was that air of mystery and I could carry on assuming that I was actually all right. Some people believe that depression is like getting a cold, where you can get it and then you can get some kind of medication and you'll be fixed, and then it'll never come back again. When you're suffering from clinical depression, it's something that's probably going to be with you for the rest of your life, and you have to learn management techniques. It's kind of like being stuck with a chronic pain syndrome, except for that it's in your head. You can learn to manage it and cope with it, and then you can start to live just a regular life. Probably the lowest point I've ever had, sort of about the age of 17. At that point I was heavily suicidal, and not being able to talk to anybody at all meant that I was actually probably in quite a dangerous position. There was a suicide at my school, and I saw how devastating it was to everybody around. I could see that my illness isn't just about me, and I realized that my suffering personally couldn't possibly compare to the suffering that I would inflict on everybody around me if I actually gave up. And from there, I've never ever managed to hit that low point ever again. Talking to my mum, she had said that during my teenage years, she'd always worried that I was seemed quite distant at times, quite moody at times, but she never really knew what was wrong. And now, finally, when figuring out that this is what was going on, my whole family and all my friends are all very supportive of the situation. One of my friends specifically that I had lived with for a while, he got so good at being able to spot the signs of depression onset that he was actually able to warn me. Probably the most useful thing that they do is they get me to come out and talk to them. So I'll leave whatever space I'm normally living in, go visit somebody else. It's a reprieve from the feelings of depression. It's freedom from that trap that's going on in your mind. And then, on top of that, they're generally willing to just, if I want to bring up something, some issue that's bothering me or something that's really weighing me down, I can. And sometimes I've covered the same topics hundreds of times with my friends, but they're still just willing to sit there and listen to me to help me out. I'm a bit of a lone kind of person. However, I know that it's good for me to get a lot of contact with other people, so I really appreciate integrating in with a team. And my boss at Plant and Food Research has been very, very helpful and very, very supportive in allowing me to work in hours that suit, so that if I need to take a literal mental health day, then I can take a mental health day and make up the time at other points. Also, I get almost daily contact with him, and being able to just sit down and talk not just about work, but also he is a friend and able to talk and communicate with how things are going. It's that simple belief that you can do something makes a massive difference, and you never know when you're going to be responsible for passing that on. I can tell by how organized I am as a person in my everyday life. As soon as it starts to get to the point where, say, I'm starting to skip meals more often, or if I'm not getting dishes done at home, if my sleeping patterns have started to shift further and further into the afternoons, then I know that something's going wrong. What I try to do is I try to always maintain a certain level of reserves, so that if I know things are beginning to get difficult, I back off, I try to slow everything down. And then, if something very important comes up that needs to be dealt with right now, I've got something to be able to dig deep into, pull up, get it done, and then sit back and relax and, take it easy again. I try to sort of manage my workflow along with my energy reserves for coping, and that works reasonably well when you've got a boss that understands that you can't be just, pushed at 100% the whole time. I sometimes feel like suffering from clinical depression has sort of put me on an accelerated fast track for personal development, simply because I needed to do that to survive. I was quite happy when I managed to become a runner-up for the New Zealand Young Scientist of the Year Awards. I have presented many papers in many conferences, and I've published a couple of papers in journals, and I've actually managed to publish a book, which I'm quite proud of so far. These things come together to validate the effort that you've put in, and that validation is something that's just so useful for somebody with depression, because it's like you've been striving and working so hard, and finally somebody pats you on the back and says, "You've done it, you've done something worthwhile." I wish I could condense everything into like a 12-step plan that could be given to people that have depression and say, follow these things, you'll be fine. But I think it's unique for each person. Each person has to go through this journey if they're faced with these kind of problems, and they need to go with it with other people supporting them along the way.